Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to another video. Happy Independence Day, everybody. Likes, comments, subscriptions, they always do help, and I do greatly appreciate them. I'd love to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We'll see how possible that is. But today I was originally going to talk about that I think a lot of people are not quite understanding the Supreme Court, how it works, it's the decisions that have been released by the Supreme Court, as well as kind of looking at how interpretation philosophies work a little bit more in depth. Basically stuff that all the people in the media on Twitter and who are protesting out in the streets closer to rioting, but I'm not here to criticize. Basically, all the stuff that their civics teachers should have taught them that would at least get them to understand, hey, this is why they made the decision the way they did. It's not because they hate women, or it's not because they want dead children. You're kind of an idiot to think that that's what it is. There's a few other things that it'll help enlighten, hopefully, for the people who listen. But then I found out that 538 released its midterms forecasts, so I use 538 as a baseline because usually Nate Silver, because he's a statistician, and because he runs his models and programs his models to be as good as they can be, I usually use him as a baseline. And basically, because he makes money off of this, it kind of pays to be right. So he's not really interested in, say, towing a line, even if he is politically biased, which he is. He doesn't make money if he's wrong all the time. So it pays to be accurate. So I use him as baseline. Basically, see, how am I measuring up? And since 2016, I've on average been more accurate than him. So that's a plus in my. And this is based off of each of our respective final predictions. So where do things stand now? Well, I wish he had a better way to look at this, but basically, if we look at it, I think he's got the most likely outcome with only a 2.5% chance is Republicans with 230 seats, but 80% of outcomes fall within the Dems just barely holding on to to a House majority, and the Republicans having 260 seats. That is a lot, by the way. And taking the average of all of his probabilities, right now they're expecting the Republicans to have 236 seats, which is more than, just barely more than they had in 2010, if I remember correctly, after that midterms, where the Republicans picked up, well, a ton of seats. And if I really wanted to, I could go seat by seat and show you where I disagree. But right now, because they're expecting 236 seats for the GOP, I'm expecting 11 more seats to flip. So the GOP to get a larger net gain. I'm expecting them to be at 247. Just because I don't honestly see the environment getting even close to better for Democrats. I think it's only going to deteriorate. especially with the messaging blunders that have been coming out of the White House. For example, let's start with the White House saying that Americans are happy to keep paying these high gas prices and these high prices if it means stopping Putin. And he's blaming Putin for gas prices being high. He's blaming gas stations for being high. He's basically saying, hey, people who run gas station, lower your prices to reflect the prices you're paying. Trust me, gas stations don't make money on gas. They don't. Ask any gas station owner how much they make on gas. They're going to tell you maybe a dime a gallon. Maybe. Some it's less. And you've also got the Democrats deciding that instead of focusing on the economy and inflation and talking about those issues, they're just going to, go full send into the abortion issue, which, like I said, you want to talk about a slap in the face of the voters who have been loyal to you for decades? The people who the Democratic Party is supposed to be looking out for, the working class, blue-collar workers, the people who break their backs working construction or in the auto factories or meat packing plants. You want to talk about giving them the big middle finger? Well, that's exactly what they're doing, because the Democrats, they don't even seem to be interested in the suburban soccer mom anymore. Because even suburban soccer moms, yeah, they care a bit more about social issues because they're doing fine financially. But the problem is, with gas prices the way it is, with gas prices the way they are, food prices increasing, cost to cool your house in the summer, heat your house in the winter increasing, rents increasing, the Democrats going all on board for this progressive liberal arts demographic really is a bad look, and I think it could put a lot more seats in jeopardy. A lot of ancestral seats that have always voted Democratic. Not just that, but seats that the Democrats they have to take care of business here before they can take care of trying to flip that exurban seat in, the suburbs of that exurban seat near Houston, or that seat up in Flint, which, guess what? That seat is probably gone at this point. Before they can even think about going after Virginia's 2nd or Virginia's 7th congressional districts, or how about any of the 3 potentially competitive seats in Iowa? Before they can think about going after those seats, they have to take care of business in New Mexico. They have to take care of business in the Rio Grande Valley. They have to take care of business in Southern California in the Central Valley. They have to win these, these heavily Hispanic seats, because if they're not, they have no chance of a majority. Because if they're losing those seats, which are not full of educated college liberals, they're full of blue-collar workers. If you're not appealing to the blue-collar Hispanic worker, you're definitely not appealing. You're definitely not appealing to the blue-collar workers in the Deep South. You're definitely not appealing to blue-collar workers in the Rust Belt or in central New York. Or New England. the Democrats are no longer the party of the working class. And pretty soon, if the Democrats keep up what they're doing and focusing on culture war issues because they're convinced that Republicans are losing on it, while ignoring the economic issues, Republicans are going to sneak right up behind them, and they're going to flip a majority black seat. And then another. And another. Until Democrats realize that by selling their soul to get the suburbs, they lost the rest of the country. And here's why that's a problem. See, the Democrats took on the progressives. The problem with modern progressives is they're not like the progressives from the historical progressive movement. Well, maybe Wilson's part of the progressive movement, as in President Woodrow Wilson. They're a whole different thing entirely. Modern progressives are almost a cult. If you don't repeat exactly what the cult says, you're ostracized. You no longer exist to them. Except as something to be pilloried, made fun of, jeered. Humiliated and destroyed. For a prime example of this, look at Tulsi Gabbard. Despite being extremely far left on economics and anything like that, because she's not 100% on board with the LGBT movement, and because she just so happens to believe in the Second Amendment, picture that, a veteran who supports the Second Amendment. But because of those things, she's more approved of by Republicans than Democrats, despite the fact that if she were in the Republican Party, she would never be elected to any office, let alone in Congress. And it's not like the Republicans are like, oh my God, she's terrible. No, Republicans actually like Tulsi Gabbard, for the most part. The ones who know who she is. And why is that? Well, number one, she's honest. Number two, she's willing to come to the table and talk and discuss issues and compromise. And when I say compromise, I mean compromise. Not what gun control advocates ask for us Second Amendment supporters to do, which is just give in to all their demands. Because, anyway, I'm going way far afield. But yeah, basically the Democrats are selling their souls for the progressive vote, and it's going to hurt them everywhere else. The majority of the nation is not progressive. Not even close. Maybe in college towns, progressives are the majority, but even then, there's a lot that aren't. Anyway, and if we go to the Senate, I'm also slightly bullish on the Republican Party right now. But it's looking like the only place I really actually disagree with them is in Pennsylvania. Where I'm hesitant to 100% look and say, hey, I think Fetterman's going to win that. I'm still not sure he's going to be able to beat the environment. But he's definitely closer to beating the environment than quite a few people. Pretty much everywhere else I agree with their model so far. And I think maybe there's a little bit to look at, but so far the Senate is looking a lot more clear in my opinion. But then again, the Senate is always clearer than the House. The House is usually a gigantic mess. Of course, I'm also having Republicans flip a lot of marginal seats that maybe and probably they won't, but I'm favoring the environment right now, which is a better bet in the House than the Senate. The Senate can go completely against the national environment, right? As it did in 2018. But that is usually because one party or the other has a really, really good map, or an average map that, just because of how the Senate has panned out, turned into a terrible map. And in the case of this year, well, the map doesn't really favor one party or the other. Republicans probably have a slight benefit due to the map, but it's generous. Because right now the GOP holds 4 of the 6 truly competitive seats. But the environment favors the Republicans. And if the environment continues to favor Republicans, which it seems like it will, that could be really bad for the Democrats, because let's just say that puts a lot more on the map. Now, one last thing before I go is Washington Senate race. There was an internal poll released by the Smiley campaign, Smiley being the Republican candidate, and well, as you can see, even 538 is like, well, hold on here a minute. This poll right here by Terrence Group, that was an internal poll by the Smiley campaign, but it shows just how bad things are for the Democrats. That said, the only nonpartisan poll was from last year, and it was by King TV, which is a local TV station, local news station, and they found that Patty Murray was right at 50%, Smiley was at 31%. Well, the only other is this partisan think tank news outlet, whatever you want to call it, that is definitely affiliated with the Democratic Party, or at least biased towards the Democratic Party, and they were using a slightly biased pollster, Public Policy Polling, their polls are pretty bad. Like, if I actually look at this and pull up their pollster rating, and let's flip the direction, you can see they tend to overstate Democrats a lot more than they overstate Republicans. Now, they still do overstate Republicans, but usually it's the other way around. Now, I forget what their actual average margin, what their average error is. But yeah, so public policy polling, they basically found Murray is at 50%, thereabouts, and Smiley is hovering around 40%, getting closer. And, well, Smiley's campaign shows Murray just under 50% and her just above 40%. This definitely is, this is definitely a race that I think has absolutely the potential to be competitive. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on Washington Senate race, just because it seems like it's going to be the dark horse, and Republicans definitely aren't going to throw money at it unless it's either A, truly winnable, or B, they've secured their position in every other already competitive seat. Because what in the Senate, where do you spend your money? You need to spend your money on seats that are far more, basically give you the biggest bang for your buck. So usually, and because every Senate seat is worth the same, a seat in California is worth the same as a seat in Alabama. So in order to maximize your return on investment, you need to be investing in competitive races. So where does it make more sense for national Republicans to spend money? Arizona or Washington? Nevada or Washington? Pennsylvania or Washington? New Hampshire or Washington? Now, you could probably take the money you would normally spend in Florida and spend it in Washington, because, to be honest, Marco Rubio probably doesn't need help from the National Party. But, then again, you could take that money that would normally be spent on Florida and use it to shore up Herschel Walker in Georgia. Shore up Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. Shore up Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. And it's probably going to do more benefit, more good for the Republican Party there than it would in Washington. That's why I say Washington's kind of a bit of a dark horse, and unless the Republicans really see anything, I don't see them spending a ton of money there, even if she looks vulnerable, which is kind of the opposite of what Democrats did. Democrats dumped $100 million into Kentucky and South Carolina in 2020 each. That's $200 million they effectively pissed down the drain. All because they didn't like Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham. Kind of a waste of money. Not just kind of, it just was straight up a waste of money. That money probably would have been better spent in House races, or maybe trying to win more marginal Senate seats like Iowa. Because let's be honest here, Georgia was not a sure thing. If Trump hadn't meddled in that and basically said, oh, they're going to steal it from you again, in that depressed turnout, go figure. If Trump hadn't done that, Georgia probably would have been gone. And that $200 million Democrats wasted in Kentucky and South Carolina, that would have really been missed opportunity. As it is, because they won the control of the Senate, well, I don't think they're going to care all that much. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Take it easy. Have a nice day.